How does a writer know what they're good at?
Oh, good question. I think a lot of that's going to come from your own confidence. A lot of that is going to come from just like within, just knowing like this is a natural skill for me. This is a natural area for me. But I do think it takes some time to get there, which is why when writers work with me, I'll ask them those kind of questions. Like, are you writing what you like to write? Or are you writing what you like to watch? Are you writing characters that you know very well? Or are you writing characters that you observe, which is fine, but make sure that if there are people that you just observe, that you then try to get in there so you really know why they do the things that they do, you know? And I think a lot of the times we write what we think is on trend. We write what we think people are going to buy. And by doing that, you're not necessarily finding your niche. Though you might be finding, I don't like this. But the question is, are you then going to be honest with yourself and say, I don't like writing this? So then you'll stop writing that and start writing what you do like. So I think it takes some work, but I also think it just takes some honesty, like within, like just like it would for anyone who's working any job. There are people who are on their job right now and they know, I don't like this. Or they know I have a different skill set and I do like my job and I have this skill set that can get me this promotion, but nobody else can see it. Like people, you know, just kind of know, just like what we said about that athlete thing, you just kind of know that it's going to be football or basketball or golf or whatever, even though when you're a young kid, your parents might, you know, put you in all 5 of them. And eventually you just narrow it down and say, well, this is the one I like. So the same thing is true for writers. I mean, I think you have to go with your first gut, right? Because most people start writing because they had an idea. There usually aren't people who just start writing because they're in a writing class. You know what I mean? Most people are, I have this idea, so they start writing. So great, write it, get it out. See if your next idea is in that same wheelhouse. And then what about your next one? And if they're all kind of in that same place, then you start to realize either this is what I like or this is what I'm good at. But we also know, just as, again, as people, a lot of us are great at things that we don't like to do. You know, you hear people say all the time, like, this is what I'm great at, but I don't want to do that. Like, for example, I'm a great teacher. I do not want to be a teacher. So the kind of teaching that I do is by teaching adults in online screenwriting courses or doing workshops. So I'm still a teacher. As a script consultant, I am a teacher, but I am not the what people consider a teacher. I don't get up every morning and have to be in a classroom full of little people all day. I don't want to do it. I've been fighting it my whole life. Just the other day, my mother said to me, well, you know, since you work from home, you should probably go ahead and get your teaching certification. I don't want to be a teacher, you know, but it's just a natural, you know, a natural skill that I have to be a teacher. So the same thing is true for a writer. You just have to be honest with yourself about, this is my skill set, but is this what I like doing? And figure out if you can find like what that middle ground is, something that you're skilled at and you actually like.
And some people are group people and others are excellent one-on-one. I think, yeah. So,
and that's going to matter, because if you're not a group person, then you don't want to write TV. And so I have people say all the time, like, I want to be a TV writer. And it's like, but you don't take good notes. You don't like to be around people, you know, and you think that this process is all about you. You can't possibly want to write TV. Most TV shows, it's changed a little bit because now we have streamers, now we have blah, blah, blah. So things happen all kinds of different ways. But most TV shows have a writer's room that you're going to be stuck in for weeks, for, you know, 10, 12 hours a day sometimes, with you and them discussing. If you don't want to be around people, you might not want to write TV. The same is true for, if you don't want to move to Los Angeles, you probably don't want to write TV, right? Because most TV writers' rooms are in Los Angeles. Sure, there are a couple, literally a couple in Atlanta, maybe a couple in New York, but 90-something% of the writers' rooms are here in Los Angeles. You don't have to live in Los Angeles to be a feature writer. It's probably best that you do, at least in the beginning of your career, so you can meet the people you need to meet. Because here in LA, because film is the industry, you might run into someone in the grocery store. You know what I mean? Like, these people are everywhere. And if you're going to have a meeting, they're going to call you in. A lot of the times, they're not going to do their first time meetings over the phone. It's just not going to happen that way. They want you to come in, they want to see you. And depending upon what you do for a living, you can't afford to fly and get a hotel every single time you take a meeting, right? So still being in LA is probably a good thing to do if you're a writer, because you want to be able to just be in the mix, meet the people, get to know the people, and be able to see them face to face. But other than that, after you've established yourself as a feature writer, you can live wherever you want because you can submit via email. You know what I mean? You don't have to be here. But for TV writers, most of the rooms are here. So that's something that people should take into consideration when they're deciding they want to be a writer. You got to ask yourself those questions too. Am I a team player? Or do I want to do this thing solo? Do I want to live in Los Angeles? Or do I want to live in Connecticut? Like, where do you want to be?
How many screenwriters have you come across who only have one screenplay completed?
Most of them. I would say the majority of them only have one screenplay completed, and that's okay. Especially if they're in the beginning, then they're still trying to figure out what it is they want to do, or if this is really what they want to do, or if, again, I just have an idea and I want to get my baby made. Then I don't expect them to have more screenplays, because it's not about them becoming professional writers. It's about them getting their baby made. For those who I know want to be professional writers, then we start to have those conversations about, okay, when it's time for you to meet an agent or a manager or whomever, they're going to say, what else do you have? So you got to have something else. And again, thinking about branding yourself, you want to have something else within your voice. See, we get it a little bit twisted because we start to think, well, I want to show them how diverse I am, right? So I'm going to have one of these and one of these and one of these and one of these. It actually does the opposite for writers if they don't already know you. If you're brand new, it does the opposite. They want to be able to read 3 of your scripts and understand your voice. They want to be able to read 3 of your scripts and understand these are the characters you write well. This is the world you know well, right? So if you write big city things, then what's in your writing samples should be big city things. If you write small town things, then all of your writing samples should be small town things. And it doesn't mean that you can't write big city things, but you're just, again, trying to say, but this is my voice. This is what I write. Understand my brand. So it's not a negative thing if you only have one screenplay. It's just the question is, what do you want to do? If you want to be a professional writer, then you got to go write more, because writers have to write.
And of the people that you work with as a script consultant, or even just email you to test the waters, how many of them have never let anyone else see that one screenplay?
I would say, I think it's a little hard now that it's 2019 and there are like script coverage services all over the internet. So I don't meet very many people who haven't let somebody else read it, even if they aren't professionals. But I think I'm usually the first like professional person that they've had read it. You know, maybe mom read it or sister read it or cousin read it, you know. But I think I'm usually like one of the first professional people. And I think that's also because even though all of those resources are out there, a lot of people never utilize the resources. Like they haven't really Googled. People don't even know, and I'm not saying that they should, but they don't even know that a script consultant exists. So they're not thinking, let me go Google script consultant, you know. Some of them are thinking the only way I'm going to learn how to write a screenplay is if I go to film school. They're not thinking there are online classes, there are 1-day workshops, there are 3-day workshops. People aren't really thinking that, so they're not even looking for it. You know, the most they may do is like go Google some books and go to the library and get the books, or go buy the books or Amazon the books or whatever. But for the most part, by the time they get to me, I'm like the first professional opinion they're getting. And they usually have found me on social media by accident, not even looking for me, you know.
I think that's how I found you.
Yeah, so it's just, you know,
I like
that's
that.
the great thing about, 2020 is that people can just randomly find you. So I think they're usually like, oh my God, you're what I've been needing this whole time. I just didn't know that you existed, you know? And that's the hard part about being an entrepreneur, is figuring out, you know, how you're gonna market yourself so people know that you exist. Because it's like, once people know me, they're like, I need you. And they usually utilize me, and almost all of them come back. Like all of my clients are usually return clients. And that's if they're writing quickly enough. Because as we know, somebody may write something this year and they might not write another thing for, 2 more years. That happens with some people. But for those of my clients who are actually trying to become professional writers and they're writing often, they always come back with whatever their next project is. And it becomes like a team effort, like I'm a part of the team. If I'm gonna write something, Shannon's gonna read it, she's gonna give me some notes, and she's gonna be real with me. I always tell people, if you don't want my honest opinion, again, not my subjective opinion, because that's not what it's about. This is not about me saying this is good or bad. But if you don't want me to let you know that some of the choices you're making aren't being executed the way that you think they're being executed, then I'm not the person for you, But if you want me to just give it to you straight, I'll give it to you straight. And at the end of the day, you can always not listen. That's the best part about it. You don't have to take the note, because it's your work and you can decide to do with it what you please.
And do you think most people are fine with that, in terms of they actually want you to give?
I think I've had maybe 2 or 3 people give pushback, and I'm fine with it because I'm not here to prove to you that my feedback is correct. This is still art. You can decide to do whatever you know. And so a lot of my feedback is usually in questions because I don't want to tell you what to think. I want to tell you what I think you're saying and see if we're on the same page. So I will usually ask a whole lot of questions. I then sometimes get people who respond back answering the questions. And it's like, that's not what I need you to do. I'm asking them because it's not clear on your page. So you need to go put that on the page. Just like you can't stand outside at all of the theaters and answer everybody's questions, I'm not asking you to answer my questions here. I'm saying if I'm asking, that means it's not there. If I'm asking, whatever it is you're trying to make happen isn't happening. Sometimes that's okay. Sometimes that's what you're doing on purpose. Fine. I don't need the answer. You don't have to prove anything to me. I then will have other people push back simply because they got a different set of feedback from somebody else. And that's fine. I'll always say to them, great. If you get another set of feedback and that person says what I said or that person said what the other person said, then now you know which direction to go into. Because if you hear it more than once, then it's probably a problem, right? So yeah, I've had a couple of people push back simply because they said, well, the problem that you see is not a problem. And I say, you know, that's fine. My only feedback to that is if it wasn't a problem, we wouldn't be having this conversation, right? Like you sent it to me because it's not working for you. I've given you the reasons why it's not working. And you say, well, that's not why it's not working. Well, that's fine. You don't have to take the notes. I wish you best, you know, with your project, and hopefully it'll work out for you. I don't ever want someone's project to not work just because I gave the note and they didn't want to take it. You know what I mean? Like that's, again, what makes it art. So you don't have to take the note. But I think, again, going back to, well, this is my baby or it's personal. I've been writing, like I had one woman respond, I've been writing for this many years and I've blah, 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 blah. That's great. These are the problems that I see. Hopefully it works out for you. There's not very much, you know, much else I can say to it, but it doesn't become like a war between whose feedback is correct or isn't. Like I'm not going to take it personally if you don't take one note. You know, I'm going to do my job to the best of my ability as professionally as I can, and you can take it or you can leave it, and that's okay.